Thank you. Thank you all for coming out today. I know some of you are new here, but this is actually my 5th year here. Actually, I kind of owe my involvement in politics to Ohioans for Concealed Carry. The first events I went to were open carry walks. I went to one out in Gahanna, then I went to another one around the Ohio State House, and I'm convinced that that's one of the events that really helped get our concealed handgun legislation moving in Ohio. I actually grew up in this area about 2 or 3 miles that way, then moved down to Columbus to go to Ohio State, trying to put myself through college, mostly just working full-time and attending school part-time. And I just graduated last year, but very low debt. And you know, that's kind of a running theme. That's a running theme with libertarians is we like to run our campaigns debt-free. We would like to have the opportunity to run your government debt-free. And that's something that we offer that's a little different. So I know I've run it. This is my 2nd time here as a candidate. I was actually lieutenant governor candidate here in 2006. I was running with Bill Pearce, and we actually were backed by the Libertarian Party of Ohio then, but we actually had to sue the Secretary of State, and the ruling didn't come in time for us to change, to get our party name on the ballot. That actually took until this year. Earlier this year, some people approached me. They looked at the district that I lived in, because they knew I had some experience running in the past. And they said, well, we'd like to have a pro-gun candidate running in your district. And I said, well, I'd agree, but I'm not really interested in running as an independent again, just because I think it's too hard to overcome the issues with name recognition and that sort of thing. So I said to the state party people, I said, you guys are in the middle of a big petition drive, but I will run if you sue the Secretary of State and enforce the ruling that we already had on that. And so there was some discussion on that, and after a couple months, the news came that the party had found ways to fund it, and that we were going to sue the Secretary of State of Ohio to get our party on the ballot. We went through that lawsuit a couple weeks ago. This was going on at about the same time that the last concealed carry fix-it bill and Castle Doctrine were going on. So in addition to me being down there at the State House with pro-gun groups, I saw a couple of you down at those events, and that was great. We also went down to federal court a couple weeks ago, and we listened to the arguments between the Libertarian Party of Ohio and the defendants from the Secretary of State's office. And they had some pretty interesting arguments why we should be kept off the ballot. One is that people would be too confused with more than 2 choices. One was that having me in a race would be unfair to the major party funded candidates that have been in the race for months already. So, we hoped that the judge wasn't going to buy those arguments, and he didn't. He came in with an injunction, but it had a stay. It was a 10-day stay. And that was time for the Secretary of State to look at the law and see if, based on the judge's ruling, she had grounds for appeal. And after a couple of days, she came back and she said, we've looked through the law and there's absolutely no grounds for appeal. You guys get your entire slate on the ballot. So I brought with me a couple of sheets of paper for people who maybe don't have internet access or just want a paper copy. I've got a list. These are the Libertarian Party of Ohio candidates that will be on your ballot in November. So you will have the opportunity, all of you will have the opportunity to vote for one Libertarian on the ballot because our presidential candidate is on the ballot, along with his vice presidential candidate. Plus we have Congress 10th District, 12th District, 14th District, Ohio, my district, the 15th District. We have Ohio Senate, 14th District, Ohio House, 19th, 21st, and 65th District. So this piece of paper has contact information for all of those people. One of the important things to know is, what a libertarian has to offer that's a little different from the other candidates in the race. I've been to a lot of events and I've heard a lot of politicians talk, and they're all going to tell you that they support the Constitution. But when you go and you look at how they vote on some of these things, I oftentimes, my very first litmus test on whether or not I personally support legislation, which people occasionally ask me about, I look and see if it's justified in the United States Constitution, first of all, because that is really the foundation of our law and government in America. That is the law of all laws. And the problem is that when I look at a lot of this legislation, I don't find anywhere where it should be federal, for example. There are some cases where it may be okay under the state constitution, but I first check for federal law. And I can't find most of the laws. Most of the things are things that Congress shouldn't be wasting their time with. So people ask me, if you're elected, what are you going to do that's different? Well, first of all, I have an instruction manual that some of the others forgot. This is the United States Constitution. Every single bill that comes before me, I'm going to look through the Constitution, see if I believe that the bill is constitutional, and I'm not going to support any unconstitutional legislation. Now, the good thing for you guys is that the Second Amendment is right in there in the Constitution, shall not be infringed. That is my motto when it comes to the Second Amendment and laws. So, I am the most pro-gun candidate you're probably going to bump into ever, aside from another libertarian that's bigger and meaner than me. So now there's another thing is luckily, through the efforts of this organization and others, you have bumped into more and more politicians that have concealed handgun licenses. It's very important that you vote for these people because they understand the kind of stuff that you have to go through, having to announce to a police officer and this sort of thing. I'm a little bit different. In addition to being a concealed handgun licensee, as is my wife, Loretta, she was over there in the back, I'm also an NRA certified pistol instructor. I am actually qualified to teach the other candidates for Ohio's concealed handgun. And that's something that I try and do on a regular basis. I haven't taught a lot of concealed handgun classes in the traditional format you might have gone through. What I do is I teach college students down at Ohio State. When I was a student there for a long time, I got involved in teaching them, and I still go down there on a weekly basis, and I provide instruction to them for free. It ends up costing them about $5, but that pays for range time, equipment, ammo, and everything. And so for about $30 a quarter, anyone who's an OSU student can come down there and learn how to, they can get NCAA quality pistol instruction and really hone their marksmanship skills. And the most important thing is, after their first class, they know that they can defend themselves. They know that they're that effective. That's another thing too, is I've worked a lot with students for concealed carry on campus. I actually had an interview last fall with Fox News that I had people around the world that were telling me that they saw me on TV. So, and I've got a link to that. I think if you go out on Wikipedia and do a search for Mark M. Noble, you can actually find a link to that Fox News piece in there. So, I just wanted to remind you all, take a look at lpo.org, and that's the Libertarian Party of Ohio website. That's where a list of our endorsed candidates are. We've also endorsed, we have a policy, if there's a pro-liberty candidate that is not affiliated with our party, and we don't have anyone running in that race, for example, Attorney General, then we also endorse candidates from other parties that are close to our views. So Robert Owens, who's a speaker later, is actually a person endorsed by the Libertarian Party of Ohio as well. So with that, I guess I'll take a couple of questions if anyone has questions about the congressional race or the ballot access. No questions? All right. Oh, one over here?
Where are we with the open carry, the empty holster law? Oh, not the empty holster law, but the empty holster.
On college campuses?
Yeah, on college campuses.
Carry on college campuses. Well, I've talked to a couple legislators. One of them is one that I'm running against in this race, and they, at the time that I talked to them, they thought that it wasn't doable. But since then, we've had a lot of issues like the Virginia Tech shootings and that sort of thing. And we've seen a tremendous groundswell of support among college students and others in support of this. So I think it's just a matter of, I'd like to see, there's some, with the Heller decision in Washington, D.C., there have been some efforts in Washington and Congress to try and get the laws changed to, to kind of, I've seen efforts for nationwide concealed carry, reciprocity, kind of like with your driver's license. And there have been some other things like campus carry that might be added into that. So I don't know where the progress is. I know we had a good bill introduced in Ohio in the legislature, but it's been kind of languishing there.
If it's voluntary, it'd be fine.
Right.